Ballymurphy Massacre Kangaroo Inquest. There he is, the famous Irish politician, protecting a little child from gunfire and hand grenades from a Protestant extremist. The houses in this picture are typical of the houses in and around Ballymurphy. Gardens, front and rear, large open spaces, beautiful views up the mountain. What a beautiful place to live. Now you listen to Gerry Adams describe this housing estate as he speaks in front of the Irish Parliament on behalf of the people involved in the Ballymurphy Massacre. It's on there on YouTube. Ballymurphy Massacre, Gerry Adams. Have a comparison to what he says. 3 schools, Catholic schools, a beautiful Catholic church, and as I say, I would have died to live there, but I didn't want to die there. The picture depicts a typical situation in Ballymurphy. Sometimes 2 and 3 companies of soldiers were stationed in the area to maintain law and order. Cheap policemen, that's all we were, because the police wouldn't go into Ballymurphy. So the children would start rioting. Many of the children were active members of the junior IRA. So they were well organised. They'd throw stones at passing cars. Then a platoon of soldiers would be sent in to stop the trouble. For soldiers, many are aware of what would happen. From the back of the children, hiding behind the children, a sniper would open fire on a group of soldiers, just like in the picture. Kill a soldier and run away, and everybody ran away laughing because they just killed a British soldier. After spending a 4-month tour of duty in Ballymurphy, in an accommodation, 100 men to a room, worse than a prison, I went home to my house. Look at my house. Converted Nissen huts from the Second World War into married accommodation. Damp, cold, incredible conditions we lived in. So I took over a Nissen hut, my first house, and lived there for nearly a year. The house, well, if you call it a house, had furniture that was 30, 40 years old. The guy that gave us the keys to the house showed us the contents, and you had to sign for them. The whole place, the wallpaper hanging off the walls, the paint off the walls, dirty furniture. So what can you do? You sign for it. So after having lived in this accommodation for 1 year, I was lucky enough to get a rabbit hutch in Aldershot, which was all you could describe the accommodation in Aldershot for the soldiers' families. But a different guy came to sign me out of the accommodation, and he went through the accommodation and said, "Oh, that's marked. There's marks on the mattress. You'll have to pay for that. There's marks on the carpet. You'll have to pay for that. The grass was at 1 metre high after I come back from Ballymurphy. Oh, you got to cut the grass." But the cutters wouldn't cut the grass because they were that old. The pots and pans, 30, 40 years old. £30 fine for cleaning. What? Fuck off, I said. So he reported me to the housing officer in Tupara, who then came and took the side of the guy who was ex-army signing me out of the accommodation. I couldn't believe it. So the officer gave me 2 weeks punishment when I was supposed to be on holiday, where I had to report to the guard room 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock at night in my best uniform for 2 weeks. And he also fined me another £30. So I sent my wife to Glasgow to stay with her family while I served my sentence. And people wonder why I didn't like the army. The two guys involved, who were now civilians, involved taking over and issuing property for soldiers, were later arrested because the fine never went in their pocket. It never went to cleaning the accommodation or dry cleaning mattresses or anything else. It was just a total exploitation of soldiers. And this is the circumstances we had to live in. This army accommodation for families was situated about 2 or 3 miles out of Aldershot. So to get to work, I had to walk 2 or 3 miles every morning and 2 or 3 miles home. Anybody else remember Hague Lines, just outside Aldershot? Did you live in this accommodation? Please confirm what I'm saying. Hague Lines, after a famous general that killed nearly a million British soldiers in the First World War. What an insult to call a barracks a family accommodation. What were the social problems in Ballymurphy? Families having 10 and 12 children. That was the problem. The Irish Catholic Church encouraging the wives to be like rabbits. No contraception. Churn out a rabbit every year. They couldn't afford. Who can afford 10 and 12 children? So these people were forced to live off the state benefits. They couldn't really get a job because it would never pay as much as state benefit. After the day of internment, a lot of the families fled to the south, but they all came back because the benefits in Southern Ireland weren't as good as under the British system. So they all came back to the houses in Ballymurphy. They didn't want to live in Nissen huts in Southern Ireland, so they all came back. Gerry Adams was well educated. You can tell that by the way he talks. Did he kiss the Blarney Stone? Or did he have oral sex with it? That's what I would like to know.